Just after I ended that last broadcast, I was awakened to the fact that I never had the camera for the scope on so you guys could actually see the coin. This is my uncle's 1877 Indian head cent. It's not the prettiest. This came out of the ground. It was a metal detector find. And my thought is if you can find something like this with a metal detector, you're a right lucky person. 99.999% of all of the buried Indian head cents are not 1877s. Yeah, the color is from it being in the dirt. It's been buried in the soil for well over 100 years, I'm sure. So this is what it looks like. It probably will not straight grade, but we are going to send it to NCS and see what they can do to conserve it and make it as nice as it can be before they put it into a holder for him. But I'm relatively certain this is a nice, real 1877 cent, which is something you do not see often. All right, let's get set up for. Dun, dun, dun. Let me go back over to here and change this. And get us started. All right, coin number one will be for Sissy. Here is our roll. Looks nice on the end. All right. First coin. Let's get this little piece of plastic off of it. Brush it off here with a little paintbrush. There we go. Let's zoom into the coin now. And it looks like, yep, very first coin is an RPM. Very first coin there. See that extra loop on the lower part to the east? I do believe that is a listed RPM. Let me check real quick here. Yeah, 1954 S 1mm13. Number 13 is what this is. Quite nice. Yeah, it's right here and down here. So it's a northeast spread. Good day to Eric. Mr. Buyer is in the chat. Yeah, it's not real easy to see, but it is definitely there. In just a second, I'll get my hand out of the way. There we go. Let's go on to the reverse of this one. Let's zoom out a little bit first. And then go on to the reverse of this one. I see nothing there. So let's move on. So there's Sissy. First coin, first RPM out of the roll. Here is Kurt Pierce, number 2. And number 2 is not the same die. Appears to not be an RPM. No, not seeing anything on this one. And second coin shows us nothing. We're going to get a marker on this. Okay, so we've got that little gimpy thing happening inside the 5. That's part of a die chip or a soft die dent. And we've also got a die scratch between the 9 and the 5, the date. What scope do I use? It is an M scope, and I do not know of any model number or anything like that. It is a 0.75 to 3.5x with 10x eyepieces, trinocular microscope. The microscope is about half of the reason why you're looking at nice pictures. The other half of the reason is the lighting. The lighting for this scope is expensive, partially handmade, and not easy to replicate. It's also not easy to drive sometimes. I'm trying to get it where we don't have all that white flash. There we go. That's nicer. That's a little bit better. I do not use digital microscopes for hunting coins like Dino-Lite or anything like that. That's the bane of existence for a lot of experienced die variety hunters, because everyone who comes into the hobby thinks they're going to get away with using a $50 USB plug-in scope to do what we do with these, and that just isn't possible. The optics aren't anywhere near as good, and you have no control over the lighting. You need to have good optics and complete control over your lighting. Even after 14 years, still learning so many questions. Asked Blues Coins and CJ's Coins last night if we can do a private stream. So you said to email him, he'd be happy to. Well, it sounds good to me. Sounds like something you might want to bust into doing. A bunch of die cracks, chips on this one. Very late die state. They're different die. Easy to detect because of all the chips in the date. And nothing on the reverse. Well, it's the hardest and the most expensive, getting the light to work right. There's another one of those, another RPM. Very nice. I go to the reverse very briefly on this one. Nothing there. Didn't expect anything though. Got one for Sissy, one for Trip. Coin 7 now for Otis. Let's see what Otis gets. Not an RPM. This has got a big mar mark above the 1 in the die that is raised. Do not believe it is an RPM. No, it's not. So we will keep moving. Really nice die clash mark there behind the head. All right. I had to let that one drop so I could test its sound. Shinbone. Shinbone is up next. And this one is an RPM. You can see the extra fatness in the upper part of the mint mark right up here. But the most important part is you can see a nice split in the serif right there in the lower serif. So we definitely have 2 different RPMs at this point. A good marker for this one is it's sort of late die state and has a bunch of north and south die scratches running through the date. But that one is for Shinbone. Let me get tube cleanup on aisle 1. These tubes off my desk. There we go. What do I do with them? I dump them on the floor. Clean them up later. All right, next up is that die again. No die variety here. A little bit of a bippy die chippy looking thing in the 5 of the date. Coin 10, Paul Hampton. And Paul. I think we again have an exercise in normality here. Check the other side. Really heavy die gouges running all the way through the design. But as for a die scratch, that is a hell of a die scratch. But it's not marking anything for us because, well, we don't have anything to mark with that. But you can actually see that with the naked eye. You get it in the right light at the right angle, you can see it. Coin 11 now, Taco John. And also not a die variety here. Yeah, if it's there, you're going to see it. If it's not there, then staring at it will only make you want to make something up. Big die crack on the right wheat. And this one will go to Taco John. Coin number 12 for Eric Beyer. And nothing there. Flipping over to just looking at the obverses at this point. 1954S is not known to have any double die reverses that I know of. Coin number 13. Nothing there. Let's try coin number 14 for Farm Dog. And nothing there. This one's number 16. It's a duplication of a die we have seen a number of times, with that die scratch between the 1 and the 9. Now number 16, Chuck Daughtrey. Let's see. Another one. One of your banks said today they may not be able to get your cents in the future. That is a running theme. A lot of banks aren't doing coins for people anymore because it costs them too much to go through that process. For basically, it's the few ruining it for the most. Die cracks and scratches are two completely different things. Die scratches are, let me find one for you. There's a die scratch right there. Little die scratch between the T and the Y of Liberty right there. That is caused when someone takes an emery board or a polishing tool and works on polishing out marks left on the die, usually by a clash. You can see a very faint remnant of a die clash right here, and right up here, this little line right here is a remnant of a die clash. We don't have anything else. We've got a little bit inside the throat, which is a normal spot to be looking. That's also remnant of a die clash. So die scratches are usually an attempt to take out marks on the die, like this right here. This was the removal of a die clash. And then cracks are weakness in the die, where the die actually cracks, splits. Oh, there's a interesting coin. Believe this could be, I believe it is an RPM. It looks like it's a split upper serif. It's not 54S number 4, which is very obvious. This one's got a very heavy upper serif. Tells me it's a split. It is a doubled eyelid nonetheless. This right here is a copy of this. So you've got this eyelid here, and then you've got a parallel line here, which is a copy of it. So I have a doubled eyelid / RPM for Carl. The spots under the S. Spots under the S. Are we talking about this? That's die hit. This, a little bit of carbon. This is just die wear. So we're going to put that coin number 19 in its own little pile and add to it. This one is not an RPM and not a double die. Anytime you've got humps and bumps that are raised on the coin, that had to have been something that was sunken in on the die. So it's usually a hit or some other mark on the die. Here, pretty good example of die cracks and chips. Now this is something that in times past has been a curiosity and collectible to some people. Die cracks, scratches, the little die breaks of particular interest to some collectors and of no interest to other collectors. Kind of has to be your cup of tea, but this is an early die state coin here. An author by the name of Jing Cohen wrote a book exhibiting all of the known die chips and cracks on the Lincoln cent. There's another one of those. That's the one with the hump inside the 5 with a little bit of a die crack, along with a die scratch between the 9 and the 5. Let's check the reverse on this one, just for curiosity's sake. Just because we can. Which one what, Rhonda? There's enough lag in YouTube. It'd be pretty specific. Oh, I get it now. Okay. Took me a little while to figure that out. It went for Dan McCumber. We'll see another one of those coins sometime here. Not a special one here. Now number 25. Not one of our RPMs. I kind of checked that closely to be sure of that. Coin number 21, number 9. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Big old bulby die chip inside the 9 there. That's coin number 21. That one's for Kirk Pierce. Now back up, coin number 26. Stan Horn. Looks like it was an ender at one time. It's got some toning on it. Some toning. For Eric Beyer. Seen that die before. We have seen this one before. Number 28 now, Paul Hampton. There's another one we've seen examples of before. Get a drink of my coffee. All right then, number 29, Doug. We've seen this die before. Got nothing going on there. Number 30 for Brad. What do we have? Normal coin, just a normal coin. $31 for Shinbone. Kind of getting a feel for the roll now. We've got a couple of RPMs that we're looking for in this roll. Not much else. We have one that is an RPM DDO combo. This one for Tim. And big die scratch between the 1 and the 9. I've seen plenty of these. Kino Mine, probably a good time to go to Gmail. Gmail's pretty fast. I have problems with my Copper Coins email. Sometimes I receive them, sometimes I don't. But Gmail always comes in very quickly. I use my Gmail address to sign into places because if I need a password reset and it sends me a token, I'm not going to get it in Copper Coins in time to use it. Another one, same die. Again. Who's next? Brad. Brad Anderson. Nothing there. Yeah, Gmail is free. It's easy to set up. You can get an email address there and begin using it within minutes. And it's also pretty fast. Got a bunch of fluff on it. So it looks like with that fluff gone. Yeah, it's better. Much, much better. Yes, it is still considered a die clash. But one thing to understand is that die clashes in general are very common. I mean, die clashes are on probably 1 out of every 5 dies there are out there, period. Especially if they're in later die state. See, this is an earlier die state version of that same die that had the big thing right here in the 5, because you've got that same die scratch coming into it. We're going to hold this coin, and if we see another one of those, I want to compare them. I want to look at them in comparison to one another. So there's a big die gouge on the side of the G of God. We'll have to check that on the other ones and see if we have a progression. Could be. This one was for Paul. I'm going to set it aside and not put it in the flip yet. Sissy is up next. Let's see if my theory is true. Of course, now we may not see another one of those other ones, and that would kind of not work out well. Have to end up digging through coins we've already put away. Tim. Let's see what Tim has. Oh. Again, a nothing die. How about number 40? Carl. What do we have for Carl? Another early die state. I like early die state coins. Really sharp details. Love the sharp details. Good afternoon, Mike. Number 41, Dan McCumber. That is another earlier die state coin with nothing to speak for. No doubling. Stephen Allen, good morning to you, sir. One for Farm Dog. I may be seeing... Yeah, I am seeing an RPM. It's right out here on the outer edge of the upper. Not real easy to see. See if I can get my lighting. Now you can see it. If you look right up here, you have an S that terminates on the top of the hump, and then another one down below. That would be an S over S west, or rotated counterclockwise, depending on what else it shows. This is a west. Okay. Time to unblind us. Get us. I just wanted to be able to bring up enough light to be able to see that really well, because otherwise it kind of hides in the shadows. That one is an RPM. Got a buy starting here. Little cracks between the B and the E. I'm ready to break out a die chip there. This one's for Farm Dog. Coin 42, now 43. Another one for Eric. And, okay, so we've got that. All right. So there's that. That's for Eric. That's one of the later coins. Now I want to check this to see. We do. We've got two different die states. We've got a progression of a single die here. Let me check the G on this one. That does show it. There it is again. So this is two different stages of the same die. And the two different stages are marked by the fact that you have that big indentation in the die inside the 5 on one coin, but on an earlier coin, this earlier coin does not show that. I had a feeling these were the same die, and they are. So, very cool. I gotta get these coins put back in the right place. This is Paul's. Sometimes you can find that within a single roll, because they'll do 5 or 10 bags worth of coins before they start bagging them. And in 10 bags of coins, you can get that much progression. All right, here's number 44. Stan. This one is an RPM. You can see it on the lower serif there. I think this one's going to match coin number 8. Number 45 now for Carl. Late die state. Kind of hard to tell much with the details we have, which aren't very many. Coin 46 now, Taco John. And for Taco John, that's that one that's got the, no, it isn't. Well, yeah, it is. It's the one that's got the big head on the S, big upper serif. I'll put that one in the same stack as the other one I've got like that. Number 47 now, Mark. We're going to be missing a coin at the end of this roll. There's another one of those. Number 48. Doug. Nothing else there. Now number 49, this will be the last coin in this roll for Chuck Patillo here. Oh, nice. Pretty toning. Definitely the ender. Was in a paper wrapper at one point. No die variety, but it is a pretty toned coin. And coin number 50, for whom we will not be able to give a coin, Kurt Pierce. Kurt Pierce, I am going to pull for you an RPM. Hang on. All right, here is an example of 1954S 1mm17, RPM number 17. This will be for Kurt Pierce. So we'll put this one under the scope and I'll show you what it is. I just pulled this one out of my drawer of goodies. Would you look at that? This could be the same die that we've already been seeing in this roll with the 9.5 issue. Okay, so now we have something else to do. Find another one of those coins. So hard, once these are in holders, it's so hard to figure out where the coin is. Alright, it's not that one. Not that one. Not that one. I gotta check this because that would mean pulling all the rest of those. It's not that one. I don't even know how I got that lucky to happen to pull an RPM I believe there are other examples of in this roll, which would probably pretty much say the same thing as giving a coin from the roll, because it almost looks like it is. But I got to go back far enough to find one of those 54s that has the chips in the 9 and the 5. Coin number 21 had it. I remember that. Let's go to coin number 21. We'll be able to compare these two. Okay, coin 21 going on the slate first. Okay, there's that. I do believe these are the same die. And then here is a known example of number 17. Working on trying to find proof. Let's check the BER on the other coin. That's near close enough to prove it to me right there. Yeah, we got 3 different die chips that are exactly the same between the BER. And my definite proof, we've got a little pimple in the die right here. That is a little raised mark on this coin. And if you go over here and look at this one, you've got the exact same little raised mark right there. So you've got that chip, you've got that, you've got this chip, you've got this little pickle mark, you got the fact that you've got the 9 and the 5 are both full of die cracks. And your serif here is stretched a little bit, but I wasn't sure whether that would be part of an RPM or not. Turns out that it has been attributed as an RPM. And this is a slightly later stage of the same thing. Just a different stage of the same die variety. I can't really tell which one's earlier and which one's later, to be quite truthful with you. They both look about the same. All right, well, so we have another RPM for sure to be pulling out. So this was coin number 21, which is a 1mm17. And this was a 1mm17 I pulled out of inventory to give to Kurt Pierce because he did not get a coin inside the tube. So we have die number 17 coming out of this, die number 13 coming out of this, and a couple of others. So inside of our known example of 54S 1mm17, I put Kurt Pierce in there, and that's going to go to him as his reveal coin. Coin number 21 here goes to Kurt Pierce as well. That's different. And that is a suspected yet probably known example of die 17 again. So, Eric, if you are here, be aware that you're going to get a coin that does not have a number 50. And that is because I put Kurt Pierce in as coin number 50. A RPM. All right, folks, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. We will get on this 1946S roll here in just a few minutes. I'll call you here in just a minute.